All right, ladies, gentlemen, gamers, welcome back. Welcome back to Patch Notes. That's a day late. Now, the main excuse I'm going to say is I was busy and I was sad. This is why this is a day late. But regardless, we always still do Patch Notes. So, I'm actually very thankful. I thought this was going to be the PB, or not the PB, the preseason patch. And we would have spent like 2 hours probably on that shit. Actually, maybe not. I have a couple of opinions on the preseason patch, but we'll leave that for next patch because I'm pretty sure it's coming next patch. But this patch should hopefully be pretty quick because it's not preseason. They're going to do all the big changes in that one. So, knock knock, who's there? Knock knock who? Knockout rounds. Ha. So, groups and plans were heckin' hype. Yeah, the last couple games were. And the Wells train isn't stopping anytime soon. This patch we've got a lot of champion and rune adjustments chugging along. Very big changes to Gore Drinker. Yeah, because they see how much of a fucking issue it is. New Dragonmancer skins make their landing. We'll talk about those obviously at the end. And each one's got a mighty personality. Lies. Tune into the quarter and semifinals these next couple weekends as we draw closer to the crowning of the season 2021 winners. My thumb feels like it just got slammed by a hammer, and I don't know what the hell happened. Like, literally, my thumb feels like it's been crushed by something, and I don't know what's going on. It, like, hurts so bad. But anyway, Rise and Grind Tacticians cuts this last patch before the new set. Okay, that's TFT related. I don't give a shit. So, pretty light on the patches here. So let's see. The skins, again, we'll go over after. So, this is the big thing that I also made a video on. Starting this patch, all chat will be disabled in match-made queues in a few regions. Since our original announcement, response has varied between regions. No, it hasn't. They're lying. It's been bad across the board. I don't think anyone... I'll talk about this probably later, but I don't think anyone thinks this is good. So anyway, we're shifting our approach and only disabling all chat where players were most receptive to trying it out. The test will last for 2 patches. In regions where disabled rolls out, all chat will still be available in custom games, and no other tools are being disabled. We'll evaluate the impact of this change throughout verbal abuse reports, penalty rates, surveys, and direct feedback. When the test ends, we may leave it disabled, aka they will leave it disabled until we bitch enough, make changes to the disable, or turn it back on a per region basis. Cool. So, anyway, on to champion changes. Auction. Auction has been seeing more and more play since he's come out, and as is the case with most champions, if their win rate is low when they come out, it's either because they're hard or they suck. And I think Akshan was a mix of both. I think Akshan both sucked and was hard. There was definitely a bit of a learning curve to him, so I think now that people have learned him, he's okay. I feel like his late game, it's exactly like Riot says, right? They don't know how strong his res mechanic will be, so they really just made him have like a bunch of tools that it's okay for the early and mid game, but his late game is not there, and it kind of feels halfway like that. I feel like late game he's obviously not a hyper carry, but he doesn't do bad necessarily. The whole thing that matters with Akshan is basically like 2 things damage wise. His ulti late game, despite my previous thoughts, actually does do a bit of damage. Like, if you're not ulting a tank and they're like half health, and you hit every shot and you charge it fully up late game, you probably kill them, honestly. Like, it's not bad. The only problem is they could hide behind shit, but the damage itself is not bad on the ult, especially because it's based on missing health and increases as they're lower. So, it's not bad, but the biggest thing for Akshan is his E. If he could get a good E off, his E fucking shucks people. It is bad, and bad in a good way, not bad in a bad way. It's good. Do I think he's good enough? Yes and no. I think he's kind of a weird case. Because he has so much tools at his disposal, he doesn't need to be strong, and he definitely isn't late game, like I said, but does he feel weak? I honestly think he's in a fine position. Maybe I need to play him more, and I'm definitely going to after I get the S on Draven and Corki, because then he's the last AD I need an S on. That's actually an AD, even though Corki's not really one anymore. But overall, I think he's actually probably in an okay spot. I could see a little bit of a buff, though, or maybe a nerf. Honestly, it could go either way. I think he's fine. I think a nerf would kind of be a little bit overkill, as long as it's not something stupid. So let's see. E damage decreased. Well, there you go. Akshan's been steadily creeping up since swinging into release. Yeah, because they freaking buffed him like crazy because he was really weak on release. We're tapping down his signature moves damage to make the choice between maxing Q or E first a bit more strategic. Okay, this is the wrong path they took. I can tell you what should have been done. They should have upped Q's damage. They should have buffed Q, not nerfed E. Because E is the main thing that's fun about Akshan. The Q is cool, it's alright, but it's not fun, and it's just the thing you do out to clear the wave. And it's pretty wiener. You use the Q for wave clear / move speed if you hit the enemy. The E is the main drawing point of the kit. You do not want that thing to feel weak, because then Akshan's going to feel like shit. Before I say any more, though, let's see how bad the nerf was. 30, 50, 70, 90, 110, 30. So 5, then 10, then 15, then... So they don't want you maxing it, basically. And I wasn't maxing it anyway, but I guess this is fine. They want you to max Q. Basically, that's what they're saying. They don't want it to be a choice. They want you to max Q. Graves. This guy, I've seen it from Worlds, and I'm convinced now. I didn't think it was as bad as it was, but now that I've seen it, it's pretty fucking bad. Graves is one of the best top laners in the game, and that is ridiculous. That is so stupid. Graves scales pretty fucking well if he doesn't get behind. If he gets behind, he's absolutely useless, but it is so hard to get behind on Graves as a top laner because he's mobile, he has somewhat, like, he doesn't have a hard peel, but he has the smoke screen, which is pretty fucking good, and he's ranged. And it is just insane what he does. He has great, like, assassin-like damage, great mobility, great tankiness with his E. It's just crazy what he does. He is one of the rat top laners, and if you don't know what that is, I say it often enough if you watch me. A rat top laner is a top laner who, if you want to fight them, you can't because they decide when they want to fight you. It's the same thing for Kennen. You want to fight Kennen, he ease away. Same thing for Gnar. You want to fight Gnar, he ease away. You want to fight Graves, he ease away. They'll fight you when they want to fight you. I hate this shit. And you go fucking Fleet Footwork, so I'm expecting that shit to be nerfed too, probably, because that's what Graves goes. So, they need to fix this shit. Graves should not be a top laner. My biggest hard-on will come if they make him an AD again. But let's see what they're doing. They're for sure nerfing him. For sure. 100%. E bonus armor decreased. Graves' defensive dueling power makes his laning a little too consistent in some early matchups, aka all of them. We're reducing his burliness to give his opponents a chance to outplay the outlaw. So the bonus armor per stack going down by 2 across the board. This doesn't really matter. I don't think that's the reason why he's good top. He's good top because he's so safe. They need to hit the cooldown of E or something. They need to do something to either prioritize him back in the jungle or just put him back in the bot lane. I don't think this does literally anything. Jinx! Wow, we're actually getting Jinx changes. So, if I had to guess, I'm going to make a bold statement here. And this is based off some, not insider knowledge, but knowledge based on, you know, next patch and the skins we're getting. The Worlds, or not the Worlds patch, goddamn. The preseason patch. Because Arcane's coming out, they're going to have a whole event with Arcane. So that means Jinx, Vi, Caitlyn probably a little bit, Victor, Warwick, Blitzcrank maybe, Jace, Vi, Jinx, and, you know, Jinx too, obviously. Everyone related to Arcane is probably going to get buffed. Because they're already getting skins, so when they give a skin to someone, they don't like nerfing them. And if they're having a whole show based on, you know, Jinx and Vi and stuff, which I'd like to say is mostly about Jinx, but not really, it's about everyone, they're gonna buff, they're gonna buff them. I doubt Jinx will get nerfed. I think Jinx is already decently strong too. She's not OP, but she's definitely one of the better ideas, I feel. I mean, obviously I'm biased. I'm an AD main and a Jinx lover, but I think Jinx is actually in a really good spot just because of her range. Her range is ridiculous. So, there's no way they're nerfing her, though. If I see a nerf, I'm gonna flip out. Alright, what are they doing? They're buffing her. Nice. Jinx is craving some excitement. Yeah, aka you want her to look good for the show. So we're boosting her passive. She is also one of the poster girls for League, by the way. But they're boosting her passive to make her pop-off moments really pop off and let her wreak more havoc. Flame Chomper's range is also getting a slight increase. Oh, okay. So passive attack speed increased. Okay, E-range increased, R cooldown decreased. So total attack speed is going from 15 to 25. That's actually insane, because this could get you above the cap. So this is a really good change. 15 to 25 is pretty decent. I thought 15 was too low anyway, because especially with the old one, the old Jinx passive stacked. So the more like times you got excited, aka you got like kills or assists, you got like stacking attack speed as long as the passive was up. But now it's just flat, but it goes over the attack speed cap. So having this be more is really good in general. 900 to 925 range on the chompers. I mean, it's whatever. It's fine. It's whatever. And then the Super Mega Death Rocket. This thing is basically has almost no cooldown anyway. But excuse me. It's a global ult you use as an execute, so you're either using it at the bare ass end of a fight or after the fight's over and you're trying to snipe someone. So you're always gonna have this up regardless. But it going from 90 to 75 is just like icing on the cake. None of these changes Jinx needed, but it's good that she got them. And the biggest change so far is the passive change. It's really good. But overall, pretty good. I don't know why they're buffing her. She might be really good after this, honestly. Especially with the new lethal too. Bruh, I'm very excited for the new lethal. I'm sad, but I'm excited, but we'll go into that next patch, the preseason patch. Karthus. I think they gutted Karthus because he kept going jungle, and I guess they want him to go mid. But I think because of that, no one uses Karthus jungle or mid now, and he wasn't being used mid anyway. So they basically deleted Karthus as a champion. So what I'm hoping and assuming here is they're going to buff his jungle. If they don't buff his jungle, maybe they do some weird-ass buff like what they did to Lucian to force him mid. But they really don't like Karthus jungle, and for right reason too. That shit's not right. You basically spend your whole time farming. It is a Karthus jungle. For those of you who don't know, this is the closest thing we'll probably get again to like old season jungling. Like season 4, 5, and 6 jungling when we had like stacking jungle items that you could stack by killing your jungle. Like no one ganked, they just stacked their jungle. If you asked a person to gank, you either pissed them off or they started like, you know, ignoring your lane because of that. And then, you know, inting was then proceeded to be done. But overall, like, Karthus is probably the last survivor. Even though he doesn't farm anything in the jungle, he just doesn't want to gank because he gets 6 and just ults you. So he's the closest thing to what we used to do in the jungle, which is just farm and not gank. So I'm assuming because they kept nerfing it, they have to bring it either back mid or jungle. And they have to come to the realization that Karthus jungle is just better than mid because Karthus mid sucks fucking cock. So hopefully they don't bring it back, but I'm assuming we're going to see a buff here. E mana restore reduced early and scales more with rank. Karthus bot gets almost infinite wave control in early game thanks to his E passive. Pretty spooky. In what way is this spooky? We're trimming down his mana early to target his performance in lane without affecting his jungle. I mean, technically that doesn't make sense because you get the mana restore after killing something, and there's not as many jungle camps as there is minions that you'll be killing, so this doesn't hurt his jungle. It does hurt his laning, but I don't think Karthus bot is really that strong, nor have I really seen it. So I don't really know what they're nerfing here, but I mean, it works logically, I guess. Lux. What do I think of Lux? I hate Lux. Everyone knows I hate Lux. So Lux is basically an okay mid laner. I kind of put Lux in the same category as Ahri, as in they're kind of useless, but their main thing is they do decent damage. But their biggest thing is they have CC. Lux's the biggest thing is she has her Q. Yeah, she does great damage with the E and the R, but there's definitely better mid laners, but she's not bad by any sorts, but you need to be good on her. Overall, I just hate that she goes support. I hope to dear God she doesn't get buffed here, because any buff to her mid lane is a buff to support indirectly, which means we're getting more Lux in the bot lane, which isn't a support. But if I had to say, I mean, I don't think she's that good. I could honestly see a buff being done, so let's see. Base attack speed per level increased. Passive mark duration adjusted. E damage increased. R cooldown decreased. What? Despite increasing her E damage in 11.10, Lux still isn't shining so bright in either mid or support. Lux should not go support. We're taking this opportunity to buff her a bit while also making her passive more reliable. So her attack speed is going up. I don't know what the fuck the point of that is, but okay. I guess it feels better to auto for the passive. I mean, I don't know. Passive Illumination. Illumination's mark duration extended if Lux's basic attack is already in flight to its target or if our final spark is being cast. That's more of a quality of life change. I wouldn't say that's an adjustment. That's if you're gonna get hit and it's gonna pop it, but it's gonna run out before it hits. It's just gonna pop it You know, it's just going to last till it gets popped. Technically, it's a buff, but it's really one that's mostly in fringe situations. I don't even know how long the passive lasts. I think the passive lasts, if I'm going to say like a safe number, probably 5 seconds. So what's the amount of times where at the end of that 5 seconds you send out an auto that would have hit, but the passive ran out? Like, I don't think it's much. So, I mean, it's a decent buff, but it's like really wiener. Anyway, E, how much are they doing E's damage by 10? And they're upping the AP scaling. Oh, that's pretty good. E's her main ability and main poke, and if that starts getting out of control, you know she's about to be played a lot of support. And then the cooldown of her already perma up ulti is going from 80 to 60 early. Dear sweet god, that's huge. That is a huge fucking buff. That R cooldown, that shit's about to be up all the time. Lux, mwah. They didn't really touch her damage too much aside from the E though. And they just made her spam more. Lux is known as the spammy champion anyway, so this is a good buff. Not too powerful, but good. Good. Okay, so MF. This is what I'm scared of. MF has basically been the premier AD of Worlds because she has great AoE. Although everyone at Worlds has flubbed up her ultimate more times than I could count on my 2 hands. Like, everyone in Worlds premature ejaculates the Misfortune ult. And I don't know why they suck so much or why they do it, but they really just don't like using and waiting to use MF ult for the perfect opportunity. But MF, I always thought was never a bad late game AD, it's just she needs setup. She does great fucking damage. Like, she does team fight deciding damage if she lands a good ult or has, like, a CC combo to work with. And she's never been bad, it's just, again, she's hard. Like, it's hard to get a good team fight with her. But she was never bad. She always was good. And now, I fear that Riot's gonna nerf her because she was used so much at Worlds, even though that's not what they should do. What they should do is buff every other AD so she's not one of the best ADs. Because ADs are not in a good spot. They're pretty shit. So, the only other AD that I really saw that matched her was fucking either Lucian, but Lucian's broken with Nami, so that doesn't count. You need to specifically pick Nami with Mandate to have Lucian be, like, relevant. Or like, it's the same thing with Kog'Maw and Lulu. You can't nerf Kog'Maw based on if he has Lulu or not. It's stupid. But, yeah, so Lucian's the only one who can compete with Nami as the support, or Aphelios. Those were, like, the 3 ADs I saw in Worlds that actually fucking mattered. And MF just outclassed them, because MF doesn't need any real support to do, like, you know, have a good team fight. Just needs to do the ult properly, which they never fucking do. And she's just the best out of the crop right now, for just, like, having not to rely on anyone else. So, they're probably going to nerf her. I don't think that's the right call. They should probably buff other ADs and leave her alone / slight nerf her. But let's see what they're doing. Base mana reduced, W mana cost increased. This changes nothing. Misfortune has been popular at every level of play, Worlds, including at Worlds. There you go. We want to preserve the flexibility between her lethality and crit builds. It should only be crit, let's be honest here. So we're nerfing her in a way that forces her to pick her early shots more wisely. So she has 25 less mana, and the mana cost of W is up by 15. This does nothing. This is stupid. She's still going to be good. Quinn. I think Quinn's ass. I think she's going to get a buff. If she doesn't get a buff, that's insane because she's not good. So what are they doing? Quinn's been flying high. W bonus attack speed decrease 8. That's crazy. Quinn's been flying high above her competition in top lane. Well, yeah, she's a ranged top laner that takes Ignite and does good early. After that, she's done. We're dropping her to a lower elevation so that her enemies can stand a chance against her in duels, which I guess happens early, but... Bonus attack speed 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 from 80. I'm gonna be honest. Quinn, her only good part is early. Late game, she doesn't do anything. Like, I feel like Quinn is so useless late. Yeah, she'll do okay damage as, like, a pseudo AD, but you'd rather have an AD, because her thing is, like, very single target, and it's very under certain circumstances, and she has very low range. And I feel like it's killed really easily because of how her kit works. But I guess she's really OP early, which is kind of true. I hate going against her early. And she's just a lane bully in everything other than pro play. If you pick this in pro play, you're probably going to get shit on. Unless you could get a lead. Quinn with the lead is scary. And her early is scary, which is how she gets the lead. So they're nerfing that, I think. But I don't believe you max W. I believe you max Q then W, then E. So maybe this is fine. I don't know. She's obviously worse, but I don't think this matters too much to how she currently is. Scion. I think Scion is kind of sleeper OP. I don't know what they keep doing. Like, they keep buffing Scion for some reason. You don't have to build any damage on Scion, and early, I feel like he hits like a truck. I was, like, brawling a Scion, and he was doing levels of damage. I thought for sure he was building lethality, and he was building full tank, and I didn't understand it. I was like, damn, his base damage must be, like, really fucking high or something. But I think Scion is, like, sleeper, not OP, but sleeper strong. But it just boils down to mid to late game, you're just a CC bot that tries to live as long as he can before he dies. But you do want to die. If, you know, you're in a fight. Because when you die, you do good. But anyway, I think there's no way he's getting nerfed because Sion's so simple. It's like, you're an okay laner into just a CC bot later. So, unless tanks become OP, which, they're kind of leaning towards that. We'll see what happens. I think he's going to get buffed, though. The most recent buffs to Sion's shield and 11.10 were clearly not strong enough for the Juggernaut, so here he is again. So the shield is going up by more max health. I mean, that's good because he gains health, so pretty good. I don't think the W is the issue, though. I think they're just going to keep buffing Scion until they overbuff him. I don't honestly know what is a good position for Scion, though. Like, I feel like he'll always be super weak until he's overbuffed. Well, not super weak, but like decently weak. Because his laning has always been decent. He's obviously abused by some people. And then his teamfight just relies on, can you get a good ult off? And he has decent CC. But after that, I guess he kind of is a non-champion. So I guess they kind of do need to buff him. I feel like in a teamfight he could do more. But anyway. Sion's whatever. I think he's still ass. He's still ass, but he's sleeper OP in lane. Sleeper good in lane, not OP. Teemo! What do I think of Teemo? I don't remember if they played Teemo in Worlds. I have to say no. I didn't see every Worlds game, but I don't think he was played. But if I had to say something about Teemo, he probably still sucks because of the changes. Or not because of the changes. Because the main thing that counters him is he's in the similar spot as Quinn, I would say. Probably a little better. Or a little worse, depending on how you look at it. Teemo is a pretty strong early laner. The problem is he doesn't scale too well. And the main thing he relies on later on, if he's not going some stupid on-hit build, is his shrooms. And his shrooms are so easily countered by Sweeper, and he doesn't get them quick enough. It's really hard for him to do good. So I think the main thing with Teemo, the biggest buff they ever gave him was the mushroom range they did. The mushroom range that he could toss it further and further when he levels up the ult was a huge change. I believe he should get buffed here. I don't know for sure, but I don't imagine Teemo is like strong, especially later on the game. Obviously his shrooms hurt and they're annoying, but you just get a sweeper and you basically countered the whole character, so let's see. Captain Teemo's fallen behind in the top lane ranks. We're putting a little more anti-basic attack poison into the friendly Yordle's dart to make him more powerful in lane. So the cooldown of his Q is going down by 1. That's really good. The blind duration is going to 3 whole ass seconds. Rest in peace, ADC. And then the missile speed is going up by crazy amounts. That is crazy. This shit is not only going to be up more, lasting for longer, but it's also going to be hitting you like faster. This is a huge buff to his Q. Is it enough to make Teemo relevant? I actually think I saw something where it said you can actually, with cooldown late game, perma-blind people with his Q, which is really fucking disgusting. This actually might be an insane like buff. We have to get a rain check on this, but I think this is actually really good for Teemo. This might be insane. Viego. I think Viego is probably going to get nerfed because he's used at Worlds, although I will put the caveat in that even though he's been used at Worlds, he hasn't been that good. He's been used, but he's not that good. I feel like they can't nerf him too badly though, too, because he's like an iconic person. They can't, like, there's some champions they could obviously have in the dirt. Like, look at Skarner, for instance, right? Skarner can stay in the dirt because no one gives a shit about Skarner. This is motherfucking the ruined king, bruh. They can't do too much bad stuff to him. They just can't. So, honestly, I could see it either way. I could see a buff or a nerf. I think, personally, as long as he doesn't build Divine Sunder, he should be okay. But that's just me. Let's see what they're doing. It could go either for me. The last set of Viego nerfs did the job and prevented him from dominating at Worlds, but this hit him a little too hard at all levels of play. We're buffing him slightly with the emphasis on his crit builds, thank God, rather than bringing him back to some of his tankiness. So, they're buffing him in a certain way. The AD ratio on his Q is 70, so he's even further incentivized to build damage and not tank. The self-slow while charging is down to 10%. That's pretty good. And then the R critical strike chance ratio is 100%. Does that mean you crit no matter what, or you crit if you have any amount of crit? I don't understand that. Or is it just the same as your regular crit? I don't understand what that means. But I'm just going to trust what Riot says. Then this is obviously just a straight buff in very little ways, I think. But overall, Viego's a little better. I don't think Viego's bad, though. It's just, he's like, he was so stupid. He fucking was so, like, healthy and tanky and hard to kill. And he shredded people. And that's only something I remember Yi doing way back in the day. But it's crazy because he has resets. That's honestly the thing that makes him crazy. Yi has pseudo resets. Him and Yi share a lot of similarities in my eyes. They both have resets. They both go invulnerable. And they're both bullshit. But I feel like Viego just has a lot more to offer than Yi. He has the stun, the gap closer. He could become your champion, heal. Yi has like the damage reduction when he heals, becomes like untargetable, and can shred you with his true damage, but he kind of has to build damage. But he could build tanky. But I think Viego is honestly just the better Yi. That's why I like Viego so much. He's the better Yi. I think this is great. This is good though. Xayah. Okay, here we go. As I keep saying every patch, Xayah is a very good AD. She just takes too long to scale, but she is very good. She is a great late game AD. She scales extremely well. She's one of the almost hyper carries. She's almost right there. I wouldn't say she's a hyper carry, but she's pretty damn close. Like, her late game is insane. Aphelios, in my opinion, is a fucking hyper carry. Jinx, hyper carry. Jhin, hard to say. Kog'Maw, hyper carry. Like, if these people get fed, it's really hard to fucking, like, not only just outdo them in damage, but, like, if they have a good team around them, it's basically over. Xayah's basically almost there. But, there's no way they nerf her because she's not being used by anyone. She's still good, though. It's just, again, she takes a while. So what are they doing? We've carefully buffed Xayah quite a few times this season to help her non-pro performance, but she's still pretty weak across the board. Early. Her damage is already pretty sharp. Yes, it is. So we're buffing her ability to set her feathers up, which is the main thing about her kit you could do aside from damage. So the move speed is going up by 5, which is always great. Always a great thing. And then the cooldown on her Q is going down by 2 seconds later if you max it. If you max Q, there's something wrong with you. But decent change, but it doesn't really matter. So anyway, on to the items. Oh my sweet god. Okay, so I could already tell what this is. Riot is going to pull some bullshit out of their ass saying, we don't think Gore Drinker's OP. We think the healing is at a moderate level. But you guys keep complaining, so we're going to nerf it, but we think we're right. And this is basically them explaining what they think the item was supposed to be, what they want it to do, what it's doing, why they think it's somewhat okay, and they're nerfing it a little bit. But they're basically trying to like cover their thought ideology behind why something like this is and has existed in the game for this long. But for sure they're nerfing it because Gore Drinker is an issue. So let's see what this bullshit's about to be. At its core, Gore Drinker is supposed to be a sustain mythic that lets fighters outlast their enemies with well-timed thirsting slashes. Yeah, you know what it ends up being? A thing that doesn't let a person die because it's up every 5 seconds and heals you insane amounts. While wanting to sustain through a fight isn't unique to fighters, it's a big part of their class identity. So this is them trying to justify what they've made. They have the best tools to stay on the offensive at low health, the Dream Alawi ult that lets her turn a 1v5. At the same time, this is a risky niche to fill. Two of our biggest rough patches since the AM update have been damage and healing, and Gore Drinker offers both. We've seen the risky play over the course of the season, with Gore Drinker becoming the dominant mythic due to offering the best sustain without making sufficient trade-offs on the damage run. So they're already alluding to what they're doing. They're going to gut its damage and just make the healing like a little wiener. But it sounds like they want you to pick either build damage or pick this and get healing. We'll see though. Because if this has no healing, why the fuck would you buy it? You wouldn't buy it. But the problem is, I guess to them, it gives too much damage. I don't think that's the problem, though. I think the problem is the healing. But let's see. Maybe they hit both. I'm pretty sure they're hitting the damage, though. So let's see. As further evidence, assassins have been taking Gore Drinker over their own mythics. So that tells me one of two things. Either A, Gore Drinker's OP, which it is, or B, the assassin mythics fucking suck ass, which they do. Assassins are designed to kill quickly, so they shouldn't be valuing an item that indexes so much into sustain and strength at low health. Between its 1.0 AD ratio and its heal, Gore Drinker's active is just too valuable. So what are they doing? In order to move Gore Drinker back into the sustain niche, we're removing its low health bonus AD to nerf damage for fighters, and weakening Thirsting Slash's AD scaling to nerf damage for assassins. At the same time, we don't want Gore Drinker to become a bad pick for fighters, so they're leaving the heal the same, maybe. So we're giving it Omnifam to make sure it still lives up to its identity. That's pretty interesting. So the active, instead of doing 100 total AD, does base AD. Interesting. So it's doing a lot less damage. The Omnivamp, so it now grants Omnivamp. That's interesting. Health regen, that's out. No longer grants more damage, that's out. So yeah, you just heal more from it. So they took away the damage, they went more into the healing aspect. That's fine. That's cool. I like that. That's fine. Very nice. Iron Spike Whip, same thing. Alright, Stridebreaker. I think this item is so fucking weird. So they've changed this item now a couple times already, and I honestly don't understand why like people go this item. Like, and it's basically on Garen and Darius that I imagine this item is like stuck to, right? So on Garen and Darius, you're, in my mind, probably gonna take Gore Drinker, especially on Darius. Probably you could take Gore Drinker, but this item was supposed to be like a way to either get onto people as a fighter, or I don't know, it's so weird, or basically just like slow them a little bit. It's basically meant to do something with like you staying on them, or you like slowing them and being able to like, you know, I guess fight them or get on them quicker. It's so weird what they want with this item. Originally it had the little dash and the slow, which made sense, and now it's become a thing where you have to cast it that's around you while you move, and it slows like a little bit. It's so weird. It's no longer a dash because I guess the dash was OP, and I just don't understand why this shit gives you attack speed. But I mean, it's great for Garen. I don't know who else builds this shit besides maybe Darius. It's on a fighter who wants to get on you, I guess, the most. Like, I don't understand why Garen and Darius don't build Gore Drinker, especially Garen. But I mean, I guess he values not getting kited as much, which makes sense. But I don't know, it's so weird. This item is so weird. There's no way they nerf this, though, because this shit is really fucking bad. But let's see what they're doing. We're also adjusting Stridebreaker's active to match the damage and change to Gore Drinker, but we're also getting an AD boost to compensate. It doesn't need a nerf right now. Okay. I just don't understand this item. I don't know what this shit is for. Runes! Okay, wow, that's all the item changes. That's pretty crazy. So, runes, what do I think? Conqueror, I'm not even going to give my opinion. Fervor of Battle felt so much better, even though I think Conqueror does kind of more, but we'll see. We're seeing a broad range of champions pick Conqueror, even in situations that don't match its purpose. Yeah, because almost everything else in the fucking tree sucks cock. Fleet footwork, hint hint. So, we're honoring that identity and giving it a nerf. The adaptive force is going down by 1. And then the buff duration lasts for less. Ooh, that kind of hurts. So it gives less damage and lasts for less by 1. So how much are you losing? How many stacks does it have? I don't even remember. It's slightly weaker, let's just say that. I think the biggest nerf is the buff duration. The fact that it lasts so little is like, you really have to just stay fighting. They're taking a third of its duration away. Really crazy. Guardian! This is the one where if you get damaged and you're near your support, you get shielded, right? I think it's pretty okay. I think it just has a long cooldown, but it's alright. I feel like it's, of most of the support stuff, it's not that impactful, but we'll see. What do they think? Guardian's been overperforming in the support role and crowding out other keystones. I think that's honestly because they just nerfed fucking Aftershock into the ground, but the problem is not, like, obviously Guardian is only for supports for the most part. I don't know why anyone else in the top lane would take Guardian or in the jungle. But everything else in that everything else in that thing is used by other people. So Aftershock is used by others, and I forgot what the other one is. Grasp is basically used by top laners only. Like, everything else in that tree is for tanks, and tank supports aren't going to use like everything else. They're going to use Guardian. So no wonder it's crowding everything else out. If you're a tank support, you're going to use Guardian. What else would you use? It doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't use Grasp, and I don't know why in the fuck you would use, God damn it, I just forgot what the other one was too. It's Guardian, Grasp, and Aftershock. Like, Aftershock has been nerfed because it's used by junglers and top laners, so they said that one was too good because it's used by everyone. So supports aren't going to use it because it's been nerfed from everyone else, so supports really have one real option, and it's this. But let's see how bad they're nerfing it. I don't agree with this, though. Let's see how bad. 70 to 150. Like, I never heard someone say, because, you know, you hear the chatter about League if you're into it. Like, oh, everyone knows and talks about Mandate being OP and Nami being OP with Mandate. I haven't heard one person complain about Guardian, honestly. But let's see. So the shield is going down by 20 early, 20 late. Is that it? Just 20 fucking damage, that's it? That's so ass. Whatever. I really made that whole spiel for nothing. Okay, Health Shard. The Health Shard is a niche stat that doesn't get a lot of love right now. It's generally useful when you don't expect much of a threat in lane, since armor and magic resist shards would be more useful. Well, yeah, because just the nature of how armor and MR works. The less armor and MR you have, the more of what you get matters. So if you have 20 armor and MR, the difference of gaining 10 at 20 versus gaining 10 when you have 30 is huge. The less you have, when you gain, it makes more of a difference, just the way the system works in League. So you're obviously always going to want to take armor and MR more. I think the problem is, I mean, yeah, I could see they're buffing it for late game, but the problem is they need to buff it for early game. Make this shit give you 20 health early, and it'll be a little better. 30, I think, would be the best, but give it 20. Like, it's fine to have it give more late game health, but you take the armor and MR for the early game, like, just more tankiness, because it's so much better early than health. Like, what would you rather have? 5 more armor or 10 more armor early, which leads to a lot more tankiness, or 15 more health early? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, good step in the right direction. Ingenious Hunter. Does this one give the cooldown reduction? I feel like almost no one, aside from people with extremely long ultimates, use this, like, aka Karthus. So, I feel like they should buff this because almost no one uses this shit. Why would you use this when the other shit in the tree is so much better? Like the healing one and the move speed one. So let's see. At the beginning of the season, we updated Ingenious Hunter to work not only on item actives and trinkets, but also on item passives. Oh, so they made it worse. It's not even on ultimates anymore. That's disgusting. This rune is fucking stupid. This sucks. It was slightly nerfed to compensate and has been on the weak ever since, so we're giving it a buff to compete with other hunter options. Base item haste 20. Item haste per stack 6. Max item haste at full stacks 50. That's kind of a huge buff. It's almost doubled. And I mean, I don't know why you'd want item haste. Maybe if you're a top laner and you're going, you know, Gore Drinker, then you really want item haste, but this is so niche, and I didn't even know this worked on items. Like, why the fuck would I want lower item cooldown? Except maybe on Zion. Like, I could see an argument for it, but the problem is there's just better picks. So they're making it better, which is good. This is really good. We'll have to see if it's used. I don't think it'll be used. Okay, Ravenous Hunter. They're for sure nerfing this shit. Like they just said, they hate healing, and Ravenous Hunter is the one that almost everyone goes to. It just gives free healing. You play the game, you get free healing. So let's see. Ravenous Hunter is one of the most popular minor runes in the game. So instead of buffing the other ones up, they're just going to nerf this one down. It's crowding out other choices, especially in bot lane, so we're nerfing it a bit. Let's see how bad this is. Omnivamp per stack, 1.5 to 1.2. Not bad. Max Omnivamp, 6 to 7.5 to 6. People are still going to take it. People are still going to fucking take it. It's if they lower it to 5, maybe, but even then, still. Okay, bug fixes, no one cares. Upcoming skins and chromas. Okay. And then, yeah, alright, so that's the patch. So before I talk about the skins, let's talk about this bullshit with disabling all chat that I skipped over in the beginning. So, with this bullshit in the beginning, right? The problem with this is, and I made the video about it, and I still think all the stuff I said in the video is true, but for a little TLDR, basically, there's no way this isn't going to have a positive outcome. Because, obviously, if you're looking at how many people complain about getting harassed, and you take away one of the main ways, well, not one of the main ways, but one of the ways they could get harassed, obviously it's going to make some sort of dent in people complaining about harassment. But they're completely ignoring the issue of, most of the time, all chat is not something that is used to harass people. It's team chat. It's team chat that's used to harass people. I feel like more than anything, this is just Riot trying to do something for the sake of doing something. And obviously it will help, but I feel like one thing that is going away is the fact that you won't have like nice, well, not nice, but like interesting and funny banter between like the two teams, like, you know, calling them a shithead. Like, it was brought up perfectly within my group recently. If you end up feeding, do you think people on the enemy team are going to make fun of you in all chat? Maybe they might call you shitty or whatever, but if someone's feeding on the enemy team, I'm not going to necessarily flame them unless they come at me. I'm going to be happy they're feeding. I might make fun of them a little bit, but I mean, you know, that's what happens in games. If anything, it's going to be way worse on the team chat side, and they're not getting rid of that. Now, the thing that really pisses me off about this, and I think pisses off most people, is they're taking away a choice. If there wasn't a choice between having all chat, like you have to have it on or they have to take it away, then I could understand that. Then I could understand how could that appeal to the masses. But what I can't understand is, even with right now everyone has a choice and it's off by default. So you're basically saying, okay, you're just going to take away the ability for people to have the choice of maybe they want it on. You're just going to have it off for everyone now. I don't understand this thing. If you give people the option and it's off by default, why do you need to take it away? Obviously, the people who turn it on want it on. If they don't want it on, they'll turn it off, and it's not something that's needed in the game. Like, team chat, as much as it's toxic and sucks, you do need it. All chat you don't need, which is why it's disabled by default. So why are you removing it in general? Obviously, again, this is going to have a good impact, but it doesn't matter. It's not needed to be taken away. If you don't like it, turn it off. It's off by default. I don't understand why they're taking away a decision for us. It doesn't make any sense. And obviously, again, it's going to be good because there's going to be less reports because they're going to get harassed less from all chat. But me personally, I know some people don't even care about all chat. I think it's super funny and nice to like talk to the enemy team and shit. And in the fringe situations where like your guy's trolling, you kind of say it in all chat to have the enemy team report him to help get this guy banned. I mean, it should happen regardless. Like, if the enemy... Well, see, the problem is, most of the time, the enemy sees him. Again, you like it. I feel it's a lot less people would ban someone unless the team says, like, hey, this guy's trolling us. Can you please, like, report him? I feel like at that point, more people are more likely to report that person. But that's just me. All in all, it's a bad idea, and it's stupid. Just keep it in and have it be an option. Or maybe... Best thing ever, lock it behind honor level. Easy. So there you don't have the shitheads, according to your logic, right, that are honor level 5, speaking with it. Damn, that was a mouthful. But anyway, on to the skins. So, we have the infamous dual legendary system returning with none other than Yasuo. Very surprising. So, in my opinion, this is a sin what Riot has done. This isn't as bad as Seraphine, but it's pretty fucking bad. From like an unbiased logical standpoint. Think about this. There's other champions that are still waiting on skins. That are still waiting on legendaries. Kog'Maw on Twitch. But instead, you not only give not one, but 2 legendaries to the guy that already has a legendary and a shit ton of skins and is super popular. You give him this shit. You give him 2 legendaries that aren't even good. I mean, you know, the animations and effects are probably good, but in my opinion, the legendaries over time have gotten shittier. The legendaries have always had some sort of gimmick or some sort of selling point, right? I can name some examples. Vayne, you have like when you ult, you get the visor and the HUD. and you have the bike, but that's more of like a animation when you travel. Leona, the Leona skin is one of the best legendaries I've ever seen, because that skin, when you ult, it changes your model, you glow, you look hot, and then when you go back, it resets, but you change the model based on doing something. Graves is like one of the worst examples of this, but he still has something, where when he levels his ult, I believe he gets like less smoky abilities and stuff. It's pretty shitty, but it's a gimmick, right? Azrael's one is the best. Azrael, when his passive goes up, he changes like his model a little bit, but overall there's some sort of gimmick, right? I don't know what the gimmick for this shit is. I don't know how this shit is legendary aside from cool animations and like new model and like cool effects. There's no gimmick, and there's two of them on a character that has a legendary and a shit ton of skins anyway. Like it's so tragic that this is who got it. I mean, and I'm biased. Speaking from a biased perspective, I still like this because I love Yasuo, even though I don't play him that much. I think this is great personally, but unbiasedly, this is terrible. But in general, the skins are okay. I mean, again, they don't have a thing. I don't know why I'd use them above Nightbringer, but I guess we'll see. But I guess their whole gimmick might be when he has the ulti passive, he looks a little different while it's active for like the 15 seconds or 10 seconds it's on, but honestly, it's like they could have done better, I think. But overall, the other skins in the sign, they're all pretty good. I think the Volibear Prestige is the best skin in this thing. When he ults, he looks beautiful. Like, this could have been a legendary skin if they put a little bit more effort into it, but it's a prestige skin, so it's fine. Overall, though, pretty good. I think they all look good. I think the Volibear skin, though, like the base one, just looks like it could have been a different, like, Voli skin for the rework. Like, I feel like they reworked Voli. They made this skin, and then they're like, oh, we need to tweak it a little bit. We don't want him to look like this. But instead of throwing it out, they just made it into a skin. Like, oh, have this released and have people pay money for it. It looks pretty close to base, though, in my opinion. Just with different effects. Karma's okay. Thresh is really hot. I really like Thresh's one. And then Lagoon Dragon Kais is okay. I wish it was legendary, but whatever. All of them are good, though. There's not really a bad skin on here except for Volibear, because it really reminds me of his base. But overall, pretty decent. Next patch is going to be really bad in the skins department, but we'll get to that. But overall, pretty whatever patch. I mean, they nerfed a lot of stuff that needed to be nerfed. They made some interesting changes, not to Lux, though. But overall, I mean, they buffed Jinx, so overall, and they did buff Xyl, although it wasn't that big, and they nerfed Gore Drinker. They did nerf Conqueror, too. Overall, I mean, it was a pretty weak patch. I'm going to give it, like, a 6.5. I was leaning towards 7 because Jinx got buffed, but that's, like, the only good thing. MF got nerfed for no reason, and it's not even a big nerf. And Lux got buffed, which I don't like at all. Yeah, overall, 6.5. Pretty weak patch, pretty whatever, pretty nonsense. But, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I'm really not looking forward to the next patch because that's preseason and we're going to take so fucking long on that one. Oh, sweet God. But anyway, I'm out of here. I got a lot more videos to make. I got to be busy with make-believe stuff that isn't going to really help me at all, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I hope you enjoyed. I'm out of here.